Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Walter Pulowski. I'm a Customer Solutions Engineer here at TechSmith, and I'll be your webinar moderator for today. With me is Shane Lavellette. He's our Product Manager for Camtasia Studio. In this Camtasia Studio webinar, we're going to be showing you how the product works, how to create some awesome looking presentations with it, and answering any questions you may have. So beneath the video, you should see a chat widget. And we've got a bunch of tech smithies in another room here that are going to be answering those questions for you and then also passing some along to us. We've got a lot of people on the webinar today, so we're not going to be able to get to all the questions likely, but we're going to try. So just post your question in there. Shane's going to go through and show us how Camtasia Studio works, and then towards the end we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. In addition to that, if for any reason, we're doing this live and we're streaming this video, so if for any reason it's a little choppy for you or it is at a smaller resolution, it's a little smaller window, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a full screen option. We'll encourage you to use that until you have a question, and then you can get out of that full screen to ask your question. But this is also being recorded. So because you've registered for this event, later on, once we've published it, it's going to be published to our YouTube page. We'll send you a link so you can watch this webinar in full 720p high definition glory. So with that, I want to turn it over to Shane. Shane, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Walter. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for attending the webinar today, and I'm really excited to show what Camtasia Studio 8 can do.
Great. And as Shane's talking about things, once again, ask your questions below.
Absolutely.
We'll try to get to those as we're going through. We've got a bunch of people in another room answering those. So please send along your questions, and we're going to spend a lot of time today, like 25 minutes towards the end, answering your questions.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep. Absolutely. So just to give people an update on Camtasia Studio 8, what we did in our approach to that was really to rebuild the kind of the engine inside the product, to rebuild what we our foundation in the product. Things have changed significantly in the landscape since people have been, we started with Camtasia Studio back in 1999. Flash has changed significantly.
Things have changed in 10
so
years?
yeah, a
That's
little
crazy.
bit, little technology moving fast, you know, trying to get people to slow down, but so doing video today is way different than it was 10 years ago, even 3 years ago, really. So Flash has changed. That used to be the standard. You know, that made web accessible and easy to share online. But now with mobile devices, with the iPhone and iOS devices that don't support Flash, Flash is no longer the de facto kind of sharing, easy way to share video. So we're supporting multiple ways to share your video content now. So to make sure it can play across those different devices, Android, iOS, tablets, as well as the phones, the smartphones themselves. So that was a big improvement over with Camtasia Studio 8. We also noticed from customers that they're doing a lot more with real-world video content. Not just screen recording, but also bringing in camera video, bringing in other footage and other stuff that they want to enhance their content with from real-world video footage. And we didn't support that very well. So we really wanted to improve our performance in that editing process, and then also make it much easier to create this engaging type of video content that your viewers are really going to want to watch, that they can actually interact with. When we have these new devices that are very touch interactive and engaging to play with and use, we want to be able to support that within video content as well, not just through games and that kind of thing. So let's show one of the other things we really improved was our codec. So recording video on the screen or recording content on the screen has changed significantly as well. So people are needing to record much more graphically intense types of applications, as well as video that may be displayed on the screen. And our old codec would give you really large file sizes if you had that kind of content on the screen.
When you say codec, what is a codec for someone?
Good point. Codec is just basically a compression. It's how we compress the video or the content that's coming in that we're recording and make it smaller so that we can actually deal with it. Because video is a big thing. We're capturing 30 frames per second, so that's basically 30 images per second of whatever's on your screen and large resolution. So the codec basically takes that and packages it down into a smaller file size that you can work with and move around and then be able to edit with.
So ultimately, better quality, smaller file size.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. Absolutely. So I'll show you a quick video here that kind of demonstrates the difference between the two. One was recorded with Camtasia Studio 7, the one on the left. The other one was recorded with Camtasia Studio 8 on the right. And the other big difference is it works much better for larger dimensions, and that's what we're seeing a lot more now. People are having their screens set at much larger dimensions. So I'll go ahead and play that. Oops, maybe I'll just go back to smaller size. There we go.
So yeah,
So
I don't know if you can see this via the streaming webinar, but on the left, I can tell that it's a lot choppier than it is. It's very fluid on the right-hand side.
Right, exactly. So that's the, yeah, it's hard to probably see maybe streaming through that, but it's much smoother, and that's what we get much more with 30 frames per second, is that the content is much smoother when you play that back. So now I want to show you another video that kind of highlights the kind of thing you can do with Camtasia Studio 8 that really wasn't possible before, how you can make much more engaging content and interactive content. And I'll show you an example, and then I kind of want to walk you through how you can actually do that in Camtasia Studio 8. So let's show that now.
Falcon 9 rocket.
This is the supermassive black hole at the center of NGC 4151. The dark object in the middle is the black hole. Surrounding it is
Okay, so that's kind of an example of some of the different types of video content that you can include that look beautiful, really at full screen mode. And then this interaction here, if I click on this hotspot, which is what is added here, it takes me right to that website where I can download that application that was shown in the video. The other ones there were actually links to view different video content within that same video, so you can jump your viewer, the viewer can actually interact with that, move through different parts of that video content, and be engaged and more interactive with the content itself. Then they can jump back.
Each of those videos on the left were clickable, and you could take
exactly,
it. Okay.
Exactly. So, and you just jump them ahead to a different part in the video. So what I want to show you now is how you can create this kind of interaction, this kind of engaging type of video. It's really not that hard, which will make it really simple and approachable within Camtasia Studio 8. So this is the new Camtasia Studio 8 editor interface. The tab interface on the left here is pretty much the same as it's been in the past, but we've changed how the preview canvas area works, and I'll show you that. We've also, the biggest change is down in this area where we have actually multiple tracks that you can add versus just one track and what you could do in the past with Camtasia Studio. So now we have multiple track support, provides a lot of new ways to really create more engaging and more exciting types of video content. So let me show you.
Yeah, and for those of you that have used Camtasia Studio versions before this, having unlimited tracks makes a big difference. It just opens you up to a lot of possibilities that just weren't there before. And
absolutely.
If you've used CS7, CS6, there was a pip track, right?
Right, there was, yep.
Yeah, and so now they're just all video
tracks.
Yep,
you can do whatever you want,
tracks.
any element on any track, however you want to set it up, audio, video, image, it doesn't matter if it's the camera video, and then you have a lot more control over that as well. So for example, I have here my screen recorded video, and so I'm just going to add that to the timeline. So I right-clicked and added that to the timeline. Now down here you can see that automatically created 2 tracks. The bottom track here, it says right here is my system audio, because we record system audio as well as part of the recording that you can get, and then the top track will have any mic audio recorded and with that as the video. So I'm just going to, I don't need my system audio track, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm just going to zoom back a little bit here, and I'm going to move ahead to where some action starts happening on my content and just trim that in. So just grab the end of your media, and to trim it, you just drag it over, and if you can notice the spot, it'll snap right to your playhead, so you got it positioned exactly where you need it. So I'm going to drag that back all the way over to the beginning, and now I'll just shrink this down, make it a little bit shorter. So there's my screen video content that I've added, and now I want to start to add that other video content that I have imported. So again, you can import MP4s, you can import WMVs, MOV files into Camtasia Studio to add to your content as well. So let's start with this one. I'll just again add this to my timeline at the playhead. You can see now that added that to another track here. And let me make my tracks a little bit smaller. There's a nice little slider. Great tip here. You can resize your tracks with this slider right here. So when you really need to focus in on a track, you can zoom in to be able to see it a lot more detail, and then zoom back out with your track height size. So let me just, I'm going to move ahead to where that moon video really starts to happen. Click again, trim that in, slide it over so the interaction on the timeline is really fast and fluid. It's really easy to move your content around and interact with that. And let me go back to my screen video. So you notice here in my canvas, let me shrink this down just a little bit, that my screen video is centered here, and I'm set at 1280 by 720 editing dimensions. So I want to create this as an HD 720p editing dimensions. And what I'm going to do is I can just interact directly with this video content right in the canvas now, which you couldn't do in the past. You could with callouts in 7, but now you can do it with any type of media in your canvas. So it's like editing a PowerPoint slide. I can just click on this and I can resize it. I'm going to grab it, shrink it down, and you notice these little yellow lines appear to help snap guides. Those are guiding you to where to help you position that. So I know that it's centered, and I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller, and again position that right over here, and those snap guides show me I'm positioned on the right third and centered up and down. So that's exactly where I want it. Now I'm going to select my other moon video.
And just speaking from my own experience, that is a huge time saver. To be able to align
Absolutely.
things, that's something that our customers have been asking for a while. It just makes it a lot easier with those 3 videos on the left. You can do that a lot simpler now than you could before with those snap guides.
Absolutely. So exactly. So if I move this one up here now to the upper left, I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so I can fit them all. And again, I can just position that to get it positioned where I need it. And now what I'll do is I'll just move this back so it's the same length as my Earth video or my screen video recording. And now I'm going to add the rocket launch one. So I'll add that to the timeline. It just adds it onto a new track. Again, I'm going to move to where that's really starting to take off, so we have some action there. Another thing that we've really improved is the performance in the editor. So now you notice as I scrub around, as long as there's not delay in the stream, that what I'm seeing in the preview canvas area is where my playhead is. And we had a lot of lag in the past, and so we've improved that significantly, because that makes it much easier to edit your content when you're, it's responsive and you can see that. So let me zoom in a little bit more here. I'm going to slide that over so it's at the beginning. And notice this one is a different dimension. This one came in at full screen, or at 1280 by 720 was the size of this video to begin with, so it's covering my entire screen. But again, I can just grab the corner of that, drag that down, and position that over here, and resize that so it's exactly the same height, or same size as the one above with those snap guides. Again, helping align that content. So, and then finally I'll add this last video, add to timeline. And let me trim that one in a little bit where that black hole video starts to get going. I'll trim that in and slide that over again. And again, I can resize this one and move it right down here to the bottom area. And I'll line that up and get that perfectly sized. So now you notice that I've got 3 videos. These are 3 separate videos plus a screen recording, all on the canvas at the same time, like we saw in that video, that'll play at the same time. So if I play this now, you can see these videos are all playing at the same time. So again, great responsiveness, great performance with the editor to be able to do this kind of thing. And so now it's that fast and easy to kind of lay out this really rich, engaging view of your content. The other thing you can do now is really add some content from our library. So we've enhanced the library content as well. And you may not be familiar with our library, but in the past we did have some library content in Camtasia Studio 7. We've really enhanced that content now with a lot more themes. And so the themes include things like an animated background that you can add to your content. So let me show you one of those. If I play this, you can see this one's got a title built into it. It's got this really cool, nice background with this kind of smoke that's flowing and it's moving, and all of that creates a much more professional look, but it's really easy to include that kind of content into your videos because we've got it all created. And then within each theme in the library, there's a bunch of different styles of callouts that are designed to just match that theme. So for example, there's like this kind of burst callout that I could add that's designed to match, or some of these new styles that we have, like these callout wedges that look really good, or even the one you saw in the video is this style where you've got actually 2 types of text you can include on that and edit that and add that to your content. So it all matches and looks really professional without you having to do a lot of work yourself. You can just drag and drop them on. So what I'm going to do is I've got this background animation that I am going to add right down to my bottom track. So it's underneath the rest of my content. And I'm going to slide that over, and now you can see that shows up behind my video. So if I play this, I've got some nice animation happening behind this video content, and it just looks really, really good. So that's just a quick way to be able to add some really professional polish to your content really easily.
And it looks like, I mean, all the videos on the left, those are videos that you obviously got from someplace like the NASA website or something.
Absolutely.
But you could have a video from your iPhone. Like
Correct.
recorded video of yourself,
Absolutely.
or from an HD cam, you could put that in there as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. It's just we support MP4, WMV, MOV formats, obviously, and you can bring those in then, and in those formats to be able to add content to your projects.
Great.
So now let me show you one of the other things that you can do. Actually, I want to take this one, and we've added in Camtasia Studio 8 this ability to do visual properties. So this is a new tab, so I'm going to go there now. And on Visual Properties tab, whatever media you have selected, you can add some, you can do some manipulation of that content from that tab. So I can do the scaling, so I could resize this. I could also adjust its opacity, so have it kind of semi-transparent. But the other thing you can do is I can add tilt effects to this, as well as being able to position it. But I can tilt it on all three axes, these rotations. So I'm going to tilt it on the y-axis a little bit, and I'll go the other way. So you can see that I'm going to have it kind of tilt in towards the other one. And again, I can just manipulate right on the canvas too as well to resize that. So you got these nice tilt effects that you can add on all three axes. You can do the positioning. And then the other thing that's really nice is you've got some visual effects that you can add to really help this content pop out. So I got drop shadow, colorize, and border that I can add. So I'm going to do this to all three. So if I select all three, control click on all three of my elements in my preview window, I can add drop shadow to all of them at the same time and give them the same drop shadow effect. And then as soon as you turn that on...
Can we slow that down? Let's do that. That was a pro tip. Slow that down.
Yep, sorry.
So in order to apply it to all three, you click the shift button.
The control select. Hold down control and click on all the elements in your canvas that you want to apply it to. Alternately, if you just select them down in your timeline as well.
So all of those are highlighted.
Correct.
And then you specify the effect, and it applies to all of them.
Exactly.
All right,
yep. So as you can see here, I can adjust the distance. And now, if you notice, that's kind of, this drop shadow has appeared behind them, and I can just drag this slider to be able to adjust how far away I want that drop shadow to be really fast. You can adjust the direction of it, however I want it to look in terms of direction. And then opacity, so you can soften it up a little bit and add some more blur to make it a really nice soft shadow. So really fast, add this kind of professional polish to your content. I can do the same thing with a border. If I wanted to add, let's add a nice green border just so it pops out. And I can adjust the thickness of that, so now you can see that if I click off, it's easier to see the border around those. So let me go back and actually reselect my content here. And I'm going to turn the border off, actually. But you can add that kind of, as well, border to your content.
Gotcha.
And I'm just going to adjust this one up a little bit so it's centered there, and adjust this one down a little more so it looks better. So there you go. That fast, now you've got this nice professional background animation behind your content. You've got the ability to add drop shadow so it pops out, looks more dimensional. That's a problem with recording and making video, especially screen videos. Everything just looks so flat. And when you can add that dimension, add the tilt, add the shadow, it really helps things pop out. And now what you could do is I could turn these into that navigation to be able to jump ahead to different parts of the video content. So for example, I've got, well, let me show you another thing first before I do that, which you can do with visual properties as well. Let's say I want this video to come full screen at a certain point. So I'm going to move ahead here, and let's say right here I want this video to come full screen. What I can do is with Camtasia Studio 8 now, you can animate anything. You can animate video, you can animate images, you can animate callouts. Anything you want to animate, you can. And so I can just go up here and click on Add Animation. And now you notice it added this little blue dot here. I'll zoom in a little bit farther so you can see that in more detail. And it's got this kind of trail behind it. So this is telling how long this animation will take to complete. So I'm at the end of this animation. So now I just position this where I want it to be for at the end of the animation. So I'm going to move it up here and have this come full screen. So I just drag it up to the top corner, drag it out, again, get the snap line so I know it's perfect. And then the other thing is I want it to rotate a couple times while I'm doing that. So if you notice there's a center dot here to move it, but there's another one next to it that turns green when you hover over it, and that's your rotation control. So I can just click on this and rotate it around. We'll go, I don't know, 4 times around.
And you might notice that as he's doing that, it's actually changing that value on the left there.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
So you can see the Z rotation value went to negative 1080. You can also see while I was doing that, this was kind of, this bubble would have been pulsing to show that you're changing that endpoint. And now if I play through this in my video, you're going to see that come full screen, animate up to that full screen. It's that easy. Now let's say I don't want it to be that fast. Slow it down, just click and drag on the end of that to make it longer. And now if I play this, it's going to go much slower and animate full screen.
So that's essentially the duration of what it took to apply that effect.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And so you can easily set that and drag those. When you add animation points, you can set and adjust those. So, and then you can animate a call out.
And we didn't have to do the math. That was nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Made it easier for us.
Exactly. So just, yeah, and you lock it into place. And you may have noticed in that video we did a arrow call out came in and animated around to point to that thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this call out here. I'm going to add to timeline at playhead. And you can see that added this nice call out here. Again, this matches that theme that I'd selected. And I can resize this. If I want to double click on it, I can then edit the text. And I'll just call this the black hole center. And so now I've got that text edited there, and if I wanted to, I can resize that as well. We can make that a little bit bigger. Let's go 36, and there we go. That looks nice. And so what I could do is now I want to have this actually animate in. Now that we've come full screen, I'm going to have this animate in, so I just position it where I want it to start. And this is another thing you can do with Camtasia Studio 8 is you can push things right off the edge of your canvas.
Okay.
So you can see now that this is actually off the screen, and if I zoom out, so I just actually used my center mouse wheel and I zoomed out of my canvas so I could just see more area around it.
Gotcha.
My call out is off to the edge, so the viewer can't see it at this point. And
now, just to stop you for a moment, sometimes it's kind of something that's somewhat confusing for our users. You didn't actually shrink the video; you're just shrinking your view of the video.
That's correct.
And can you point out on the?
That's correct.
Yeah, there we go.
Right here. Yep. This control up here is what will zoom in and out of the actual canvas view, so you can go shrink to fit, and then it'll put it as big as it can within that size that you have it set. And then you can zoom in and out with this menu, or again, you can hover your mouse and scroll in and out with your mouse wheel.
The quick way with the scrolling.
Tip when you're doing that with
He's throwing in some pro tips, and
that's
good. It's good to call attention to those.
So you can see I have my call out outside my canvas here, and I want to, when this comes full screen, I'm going to slide my call out over to where that is to have it start right there when it's full screen. And now I'm going to move in a little bit, and I'm going to go to my Visual Properties tab again. Add animation, again, adds that little blue dot there. Now I just position it where I want it to finish up, which is slide in right there. So now let's play this through. Comes full screen, boom, that call out slides in. So again, really fast and easy ways to add this kind of engagement with some movement, some motion, and really help highlight to the viewer what's going on, what you want them to focus on the screen.
Yeah, that animation option just seems very, very powerful. You can do a whole lot of stuff with it. And the fact that you can apply it to any of the tracks now, including, I mean, you just did a call out, and that just, the possibilities really are endless at that point, right?
Absolutely. And what's a really powerful and nice thing you can do as well is you can then add, you can now group things together and then animate groups as a whole. So for example, one of the really useful things about that is if I wanted to group this call out with well, actually, I'll add a new one here. Let's go back and say, right in...
While you're doing that, I just want to quickly remind our users that we are taking questions. We're going to get to those very shortly here, so please continue to submit your questions, and we'll tackle all of those with Shane here in just a few minutes.
So we've added some additional, besides the ones in the library, we've added additional callout types on the Callouts tab. So when you go there, you can view there's some new lines, there's some new shapes that we've added that are really nice. We've also added, we've had blur, but we've also added a Pixelate callout, which is a nice one to do as well. So let me show you if I add that one. So I've added this Pixelate callout here. Let's say that you've got some in your content, you recorded somebody's name and you need to blur or pixelate that out, or something on the screen that you don't want your viewers to see. I can now position this.
My social security number. I don't want anybody to see that.
Bank account,
there we
password. This is the Pixelate one, and again, I have some control in terms of intensity here that I can adjust on that Pixelate callout, so you've got some cool things you can do there. But let's say now I've got that covering this where that text displayed on the screen because I don't want that to be seen. And I'll just back it up here a little bit where that comes right there. I can just drag and move that over. Right, so now let's say that I actually I wanted to zoom in on this content. You know, and what happens if I just zoom directly in on this, if I go to the Zoom and Pan tab, and let's say I zoom in over here on the edge of the earth, you can see that actually what I did was added that zoom and it automatically added it to both the callout and to the track. So it kept it in sync with that zoom. But sometimes you may have zoomed already to your content, or you don't
moved
want
around the page maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to Control Z and undo that zooming. And what I can do is also now I can select. I'm going to select all of these and right click and add group, or you can do Control plus G. But I'm going to group those together. So now these are grouped together. And now if I actually do any kind of animation, either on my visual properties or with the Zoom and Pan tab, that is going to stay exactly there. So if I want to add an animation, and now I wanted to actually scale this up and slide it over, you can see that Pixelate stays right where it was on that kind of media, on that media itself. So you don't have to worry about now, oh, it's not covering it anymore. So for a few frames, they're going to see it, or manually have to adjust that call out, you know, step by step with your animation of your video content. So grouping is a really powerful way to be able to add some enhancement to or lock things together and then be able to manipulate them as a single media.
Before that was such a manually intensive process, it seemed like, and to have things that stay relevant to one another and their positioning can be really helpful in that
Exactly,
regard, so.
Exactly. So let me now, I'm going to jump back and actually trim this in a little bit and show you real quickly what you could do to make this content more interactive for your viewers, to be more navigable. So I'm going to just trim everything back so it's all the same length at the beginning, because basically what I'm going to do is make a menu like you saw in that video that had hotspots that linked to additional content. So the key thing here is just to make sure that when you're doing that, you just add a little bit of space on your timeline for the different elements, between the different elements that you want to link to if you're making it within the same video. So for example, I'll just go right here to this point. It's a little bit of space between that and my other navigation pieces that I'm using. And I'll go back to my clip in, and now I'm going to add that moon video to the timeline right at that spot. So now this is that full video, and I'm actually going to make it full screen at this point. So again, I can just select that, make it full screen, and now I've got that full video at this point. And now what I want to do is go back to the beginning of it, and this is where I want people to jump to the beginning of this video. I can add a marker. And so you can add a marker through the Edit menu, where you can do markers and add a timeline marker, and then it's there. I'll just call this one Moon Video so I know what it is. You may have noticed this little marker track appeared. I'm going to hit enter, so I've named that one. Now you'll notice that we have two ways to do markers now. One is they're based on the timeline, the overall time on the timeline. So when you set it at 1 minute, it's going to be at 1 minute regardless of what you do on any of your content on the timeline. The other way is you can actually tie markers directly to media. And so wherever you move that media, that marker stays with it. So it stays right at the beginning of that media. So I'm going to click down here, this little diamond. It may be hard to see, but when I click on that, it's now added it to this media. And now I don't have to worry about if I want to move this, slide this down. Notice how that marker moves right with it and stays with it, so I don't have to worry about losing sync with my markers. So it's a really nice thing to do. Make sure you do that, especially if it's for that content directly, that you link it to the content, and then you don't have to worry about however much you move it.
That's a great advanced tip. And once again, you did that by clicking on that little diamond that existed above the marker itself.
Yeah, as soon as you open the marker, as soon as you add a marker, the marker track opens. And if you'll notice, there'll be a line going all the way down from at the beginning of your marker, and on your media, we'll open a little track above that as well, which is right here. And if you put your mouse in there, you can either move one down to be tied to that, or you can add a new one too. I could add another one right here, and that's a media marker I just added.
And you can do that with a whole group of assets as well, correct?
Correct, yep. I could add it to a group. If I had a grouped asset, you can add markers that are linked to that group specifically. So let me just, I'm going to undo that, or delete this marker, because I don't need that one. And so now I've got this moon video marker. Now I just need to go back to my beginning animation here, or my navigation, and I'm going to select this one. And now what I need to do is go to my Callouts tab, and I can add a hotspot to that media. So I can add just a transparent hotspot to that entire media. So if I select this option, now you can see it's added a callout here, and that's a generic, basically a transparent hotspot callout, and I can put that right over that Moon video content there. And now I just need to specify where I want that to go. So hotspot properties, again, this is on the Callouts tab. I can have it pause at the end of the callout. Click to continue is the action that the user needs to take, the viewer. But I'm going to have it go to a marker. Click on Go to Marker, and again, all the markers that I have set will show up in this drop-down. I want it to go to the Moon video marker. Click OK, and now I've just added that as a link. So now when the viewer sees this, they can tap that if they're on a tablet on a touchscreen device, or they can click on it, and again, that'll jump them ahead to that Moon video in there. So that's how you can quickly and easily create a more engaging, interactive style of video content. One more thing I'll show you real quick, and then I'll want to show you some examples as well. I'm going to hide the marker view. Let me show you quizzing, because we really enhanced the quizzing capability in Camtasia Studio 8 as well. So I'm going to go down, and here's my Moon video that I've added, and this is the part where we've jumped them ahead to the Moon video content. And let's say at the end of this Moon video, you want to add a quiz that asks them a question about that content. So here, all I need to do is go to my quizzing tab. And that's if you don't see, this is another tip, if you don't see a tab that you're looking for, click on that More button, and that'll open up some additional tabs or the options that you can get to. So I'm going to go to the Quizzing tab. I'm going to add a quiz here, and you can see we've popped up a quiz view similar to we do with the markers. And now I can simply name this quiz. This will be my Moon video quiz. And now I can add questions to that. So when did the Moon form? Oops. And now I've got that. And then I can add answers here. Just click on these to say
1980.
4.5 billion years ago. We'll go with Walter's 1980 option.
When I was 3, I remember the Moon coming into being.
1980, and maybe it was 1969 when we first walked on it. You know, so you can add your options here for a multiple choice type answer. You can also add fill in the blank, short answer, or true false style questions. And again, we can grade anything but a short answer question. We can't automatically grade that. But one of the ways that we really improved that is in how we actually grade and score your quizzing. So up here you have a couple options to score the quiz if you want to, and viewer can see answers after submitting so that they can go back and review if they got the answers right or not. But then when we produce the video, you have the option to have the results reported to you in email, and the viewer doesn't have to do anything. It'll just happen automatically behind the scenes with our new TechSmith Smart Player, which will connect to our server and send the results back securely to us, and then we'll email those results on a daily basis back out to you as a content creator. So you just specify an email address when you produce those. They can interact with that quiz on any device that supports either HTML5 or Flash, so it'll work on your iPhone, it'll work on iPad, and then those results get sent back. So that's the quizzing enhancement. It's really easy to add, really easy to get results, and I'll show you how that actually works for interacting with that as an example here. Let's use the iPad.
Before you get to that, just want to remind people to continue to ask those questions. We've got a lot of great questions coming in, and in just a couple of minutes here, we're going to be answering those. So if you've been using Camtasia Studio for a while and you've got those product-related questions that you've been working through on your project, please ask those, and we'll be sure to get to those very shortly.
Absolutely. I'm going to get my iPhone ready here as well so I can show you that. Okay, so this is that NASA video, and on the iPad, so you should be able to see a screen, be seeing a feed from our iPad directly through your stream. And so I'm going to go ahead and play this by touching it, and then you're going to see, as it's loading up here, the interaction capability that you can get with this. So this video will play, and here's that beginning of the video. It's going to get to the point where we have that navigation capability, so I can show you how that touch interaction really works with that. Let me just jump ahead a little bit here.
This is the supermassive
and so here we
black
get to
hole
that navigation screen that we basically created.
The dark
And there's an
object
example
in
of
the
an
middle is the
animated
black
callout,
hole.
some of the cool things you can do with those, and even animating them down and pulling things together like that. I really like this ability to have these callout styles that have two types of text on there, so you can either label it, or you could do a step 1 and have text, and step 2 and have text, all within that same call out. Look really good, really professional. They all match with the theme that we got going on. Okay, so here's that interactive menu that we created basically. So you can click and jump to any one of these. So if I just tap on that one, it's going to jump ahead to that video, and I have added a back button on this. I didn't show you you can do that, but you can do that as well. So I could jump back to that menu, but here's that moon video. And what I want to do is I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to show you I've added a quiz to the end of that video. And so what that looks like when that quiz pops up to the viewer. So here comes the quiz. It's got this little dot you can see on the on the playback bar. And boom, when it pops up, it says take quiz now or replay last section. I can just touch on take the quiz now. And here's my questions about that. And so I can answer those just by touching.
You made those a little tougher than the previous
what we did. Yeah, right. And then hit next and move through this. So again, I'm interacting with this on the iPad and with the touch interface. And here's a short answer question, so I can actually type into the fields and
kind of cheating with that attached keyboard.
I know I got the keyboard, but you can do it right on there.
Okay.
And then submit the answers, and that's when it gets submitted back to us, and we're going to report those answers back to you as a content creator, so you know how your viewer did. The viewer can go back and actually view those answers as well to see if they got them right. Like that one's green check, good, I got that one right. I got that one wrong, it's actually false, and then I got the asteroid question right. So, and then they can continue playing that video. And so now what I could do is jump back.
And what format do those quiz answers come back in?
Oh, good point. Yeah, those will come back to you as, you'll get an email with some summary information, and then you get 2 CSV files. One, it'll be a summary report, so it's just high-level information about their total score and how much time they spent, which is another real benefit of the quizzing. You also get to see exactly how much time the viewer spent looking at the video. And then the detailed report will break it down by each individual question and give you what they answered, if they got it right, how much time they spent on that segment of the video, because you can add as many quizzes as you want to a video. So you could have 4 or 5 quizzes spread out throughout your video content.
Gotcha.
So that's that interaction on the iPad. Here's an example. See if I could show you this just on the iPhone, because I want to tell you that the iPhone is different than the iPad. So tablet devices typically will support HTML5 natively. So when you're playing back video content, and our Smart Player, the TechSmith Smart Player, which we produce our video content with out of Camtasia Studio 8. So if you want to host it on screencast.com, the Smart Player just is used there, so it just works across devices like this. But you do need that Smart Player for the interaction to happen. So you can host it yourself. You can also produce the files out locally on your computer and be able to upload those and share those to your own website if you have your own website. You put them on screencast.com and embed them on other sites. I'll show you an example of that. But on the iPhone will use its own built-in video player. So unless you have an app to play back the video content, the iPhone only uses its own player. It won't use the browser to play back the video.
And that's just standard functionality on the iPhone specifically.
Correct. Yep, so. Exactly. So the iPad works a little differently. So what we did is we took our Smart Player and we turned it into an application that you can download for free on the App Store for iPhone. So I'm in the browser right now here, but I just want to show you there's an option here, and you probably can't see it very well, but when they visit a link that you created from Camtasia Studio 8 with your video content, and your viewer goes to look at it on an iPhone, they'll get a message that says, play with TechSmith Smart Player. And when they do that, then they'll get directed to download the app and install it for free so they can play that content. Or if they've already got it, then when I hit that play button, it automatically launches the TechSmith Smart Player and launches the video within that player. And now the great thing about that is that all that interactivity will work on the iPhone as well. So when I play the video here, it's going to be able to give me the capability to interact with it with the touch interface, just like we did with the iPad. So here's it playing. I got a control bar again. Same exact video. So I've only produced this video once. Yep. I've put it on screencast.com and used the link to share this out. I could use the embed code to, again, put it on some other website or embed it into an LMS or onto Google site or onto a blog. And this would still work just the same way across these devices. So you don't have to produce multiple videos or anything like that. So you can get table of contents as well.
Table
so I can
of
bring
contents
this up
is a big one to be able to
and tap on the table
around.
of content. Yep, and boom, move that around, and now I can hide that table of contents. And here's my video content. Again, it can also take the quiz. So if I tap on that moon video, boom, it jumps ahead to that, and it's going to play that moon video, and I can take the quiz on the iPhone. So it's really, we've tried to support all the functionality, interaction across device, make it as easy as possible on the content creator. You just produce it once. Share to screencast is really the easiest way, because then you just copy a link or copy embed code and put that where you want it, or you can
put
host
it in
yourself.
A lot of different places, yeah,
exactly.
YouTube, and great.
Right, so here might want to get to some questions here, but I'll show you, this is an example of one that one of our customers has done that's embedded on a LMS system. So this is a teacher, she's a teacher, and she uses PowerPoint to create her lessons that she uses to flip her classroom, and she uses Camtasia Studio to also add quizzing and embeds them from screencast right into her LMS. So the students can come here and play this video, and this is one thing I didn't show about the quizzing, is there's an option when you produce with a quiz to actually have the viewer enter information. So enter their name and email address, and when they do that, then they can continue with the video. So that's how you know who they are, who took the quiz.
Or you can make it anonymous.
Yep, you can make it anonymous as well. So, but you can see that pops up right in there, and again, that same link works on the iPad. So, oops, I hit the wrong thing. If I go here to the iPad and I play that exact same video, I get the same thing. That field comes up. I can enter my information here and email, and I'll just, oops, if I could type. Now I can watch the video and take the quiz. And now that video is going to load, and I can then watch that content and be able to take the quizzes that are embedded in that content. And it all now is working like, as a teacher, she just shares the students know their class web page, right? It's in the LMS. They just go there. Again, doesn't matter if they go there on their iPhone or with their iPad or on their computer. They get the same experience across those devices, and they're able to interact and take those quizzes.
Okay, great. So we just covered a lot of things really quickly. I know we've got a lot of questions. Thank you for submitting them throughout this presentation. The first one that we have is I believe it's pronounced Leonid. He's another Polish guy. Leonid asks, what about capturing keystrokes from the keyboard and mouse? Is that possible as you're recording?
Yes, it is, actually. So as part of the recorder, if I go to record my screen here, I'll click on that. We, by default, will capture that. That information, we ought to always do the mouse for sure, but then there's options as well to record your keystrokes. And then when you get into the editor, what you can do is on the Callouts tab, well, actually, what you can do is when you add your media, let me hide my quiz view here and close the recorder. When you add your media, this media doesn't have any, but you can right-click on any media that you've added to your timeline, and you can select the option to shoot, it may not show up because I don't have any keystrokes in there, but there will be an option in your right-click menu to automatically generate keystrokes. And what that'll do is automatically create, based on your recording, as you were using your keystrokes, that'll generate keystroke callouts for you based on those keystrokes. And you'll be able to select which ones you want it to generate for. It'll come up and give you a view of all the keystrokes that were generated. You can check on and off the ones you want and don't want, and then boom, it'll automatically put them in sync on with your recording on the timeline. Those keystrokes.
So earlier when you were showing selecting multiple items at a time, if you were also recording that, it would show you, okay, you click this button, and this button in order to perform that function, and it would show you those keys right on the video.
Right. You know what, let me just go back to my clip in, and if I add, I think I might have some, I'm not sure if there's any keystrokes in this screen recording or not. Yeah, so there it is. So generate keystroke callouts. I select that option, it comes up and shows me exactly what keystrokes that we've recorded that you can choose to have generated, and then by default it'll show you just the function, like the control keys and the function keys, but you can have it show all too if you had other keystrokes, just regular keystrokes you want to have displayed, and then you can choose different styles for those as well. So when I click now generate, it automatically created down here this, let me zoom in so we could see this easier, a keystroke callout right here, and if I play this, let me zoom in a little bit here on my preview as well. Whoops, that was really fast, wasn't it? Now let me zoom back out so I can get back down there. So that is right here, and again I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to make that longer now. But right in here is where that keystroke, that
There you
F10 key. Yep. So then you can change and adjust that as you need to. Cursor effects, I'll just show you that real quick. But that's a really nice thing to do to add to your content is on our cursor effects tab. This is a tip to do as well. Select your media. And here's my cursor. I want to increase the size. Often to increase the size just a little bit, go to like 2.5 or 3. Then it makes it a lot easier to be able to see that cursor on your media in your video.
Gotcha.
It pops it out, and you can add effects to it really easily here as well.
Or you can hide your cursor at certain
you can
points
hide
in the
it
video.
completely. That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah.
If you, a lot of times when I record, I got this. I'm kind of moving the mouse a lot, really distracting. So you can have it hidden and then only show when it's moving to click on something important in the video as well.
That's something important, that as you're recording, if you move slowly with your mouse cursor, it just looks a lot more professional when you're done with that final video. Great question. We've got another question here. Is there a way to shrink the magnification of a call-out so it's not so large on a video that's zoomed? So it sounds like they've added a call-out, they've zoomed in, and that call-out now is really, really pretty big, and they want to shrink it down. How would they do that?
Okay, so let's do that. I'll add a quick call out here. Let's add this arrow, just generic arrow here pointing to the Earth right here. And now basically we are, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, make it easier to see that. So we're saying here if I want to zoom, and basically I don't want to zoom in on that, I'm just going to zoom in here like this.
So we see that the call-out's
getting bigger. So the call-out's getting much larger, right? So just click on the call-out and shrink it down.
There we go.
So that's all you can do. You can interact, again, right within the canvas itself. So you can adjust the sizing of that. So you can make it smaller as you zoomed in if you want to.
Now another nice option, I think, with Camtasia Studio 8 is if you group those together, couldn't you shrink the whole... I mean, you could shrink the whole group if you'd like to, wouldn't you?
Correct, yeah. But if you group this with the video, when you're zooming in, it's making it, basically Zoom is making that content, you're resizing, you're making the whole thing bigger. Yeah. So that's the difference. If you then shrunk that down, as a group, you shrink everything back down. So you'd want to do it just on the call out itself. Okay. And you could actually animate it too if you wanted that video to zoom in. Well, actually, you could do that without even... if you didn't want that call out to resize at all, so you notice when I went to the zoom and pan tab, it actually zoomed both my arrow and the background there, but it added a keyframe here or an animation to my arrow as well. If I just select that and delete it, now that is the same size as it was before, and my content behind it will zoom on its own. But again, then you got to do some positioning and that kind of thing. So you
can do them independently or together.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Okay. This is a really popular question. In fact, this is something that our tech support team gets all the time. We have a customer that's saying they create their own training videos and they embed it into their own web-based business solution using Camtasia Studio. And one thing that they always struggle with is recording dimensions and output dimensions and trying to understand that. Could you recommend a best practice for those using the tool for training videos and they're going to be viewed in probably a web browser? Could you recommend some best case scenarios?
So what we do in Camtasia is I'm going to actually, let me go to new project, and I'll save those changes. And so I got a blank project here, and let's say I want to, well actually I have one. Let me go to I got a PowerPoint example. So this is just an example of bringing a PowerPoint recording into Camtasia, but I can talk to it about how you record dimensions. So my recommendation is to record at full screen and then use zooming to zoom in on your content. The best option really is to record at the dimensions that you're going to produce at, that your viewer is going to be able to view the content at. So, but a lot of times that gets a lot trickier to do in terms of recording, because then it records you. You can record at, if I go to my recorder here, and now I can select a custom region. So I could go 1280 by 720 as a region recording, for example, or my screen is actually set at that, so I'll go a little bit smaller, 854, and say, now I've got this region recording. So you could do that as well, record at whatever that dimension is that you're going to produce your content at. The key thing to keep in mind is then your viewer, if they are on a larger dimension and they want to view that content at full screen and they click the full screen button, it's going to just...
makes it a little blurry.
It's going to make it blurry when it blows it up. Yep. So it's better to go from a larger dimension smaller and zoom in, use your zooming capability in Camtasia Studio 8, because then regardless of how clear, or how, if they want to watch it full screen or not, then it's going to look nice and clear and crisp either way. And so I recommend full screen, and then when you get into the editor, let me close that. When you first bring in your recordings and you add this to the timeline at Playhead, the editing dimensions are going to pop up, and it's going to ask you, by default, we're going to do it at up to 480p. So we're going to set it, even if you're at wider screen dimensions or at 4:3 editing dimensions, we're going to make it fit within a 480p. So that's going to be your 480 is going to be your one dimension. Yeah. And then you can go up to 1280 or 720p is what I would recommend, is if you can support that, because then you're at HD dimensions. Yeah. And that's going to be best for, especially if you're going to YouTube or going to Vimeo or any of these other hosting sites. Go to HD dimension up to 720p. We'll automatically adjust it to fit within 720p so you don't get black bars. But I would recommend going to 720p if your destination can support it. So if you're hosting your own training videos, yeah. If you can't support 720p, go with the 480p, but I would still record larger and then use either our Smart Focus to help you automatically zoom in at the different points, or add your zooms as you go, because then that way it's going to look really good even if they want to go full screen, or if they're looking at it on an iPhone or an iPad, those are going to be 720 dimensions. They can support 720, and so when you're looking at it at 480 on this small of a screen, it gets really hard to see.
Yeah, if you're using a really, I mean, if you have a player that's a little bit smaller, you could always record it if you wanted to at a lower resolution and not do any zooming, so it's a kind of a one-to-one. You're not shrinking or expanding it when you finish the video. And ultimately, either via zooms or through your output resolution, a one-to-one is going to be the best quality, because you're not shrinking down the video, you're not expanding it. That's an option as well. So thank you very much for that question. We didn't touch on speech-to-text or captioning. Can you please show how that's done in this product?
Actually, why don't I just add it right here to this. This is not going to be accurate with the speech-to-text because it hasn't been, this computer hasn't been trained for this voice, but in Windows...
So you need to train it in order to really make it better.
Yeah, for the Windows speech-to-text, you really do. So that's what we're leveraging. So if I go to apply speech-to-text, so you just, again, select your media, right-click, apply speech-to-text. We come up with some tips that actually help you do this, to go through and train your voice profile, basically, is what it creates. And then some tips on how to set up your recording, because you want to get really clear audio for the speech-to-text to be most accurate. And I guess in Windows 8, the speech-to-text engine has been improved. It got approved a lot with Windows 7, so it's much better than it was in XP and previous versions. In Windows 8, they've improved it again, so it's getting more accurate over time as well. But it really works best with training, and then if you train it, spend a little bit of time. It's worth the investment to spend the time to train it. But I'm going to go ahead and continue. And so it's applying, it's transcribing this audio to text. I should have done a smaller, hang on, let me just cancel out of this. So
might take a little bit of time.
I can do just a region as well. If I select a region here and right click, I can do...
There's another nice option in there where Shane's applying a region. Right. You can also just produce parts of videos if you're interested. Just by selecting a region, there's produce selection as, which is a nice feature.
Trim it down. And now I'll right click and apply speech to text, continue, and now we'll get that, and I'll show you what that looks like from the captioning standpoint. So we automatically generate captions based on that. You can see those here. So now if I go to my captions track, you can see those here. And if I play this, what it'll look like in the preview window is it'll be displayed over the video. So this is, by default, we're going to do it as closed captioning. So closed captioning means the viewer has control over turning it on and off, and it'll be displayed over the top of the video, but we offer some options around that. So what you can also do is when I go to export my video, say I want to go to screencast.com, and I click on next, and next to get logged into my account. And this is for anytime you're producing with the player, you get these options. So going to screencast.com, you'll get these options. If you go produce locally with the TechSmith Smart Player, you get these options. You do not get these options if you go to YouTube or to some other third party.
Don't support it right now.
Well, they don't support the other options. Yeah, they'll support captioning, and if you upload to YouTube, you've added captioning, we're going to send that caption data with it to YouTube, so you'll get captioning on YouTube. It'll be closed captioning, though. So if I click on this Options tab and go to the Options part here, there are some options for closed captioning. So this is the caption type. So I can do closed captions, I can do burned in. Burned in meaning it's going to be burned into the video so the viewer cannot turn it on and off. Yep. And that'll be, again, over the top of the video. But if you want to do under video so it doesn't cover any part of the content itself when you produce it, you can do under video captioning. And then the viewer does not have control of turning those on and off. They'll just always be displayed, so that's nice. And then you click OK and we'll produce it that way. And here's a quick example that shows you what that looks like. Let's see if I can get to right here. So this, when you produce it with under video captioning, this is what you get. These are just generic captions, so the captions that are not reflective of the content, but they show up below the video, so they're not covering up any of the video. We automatically add some extra space to your content, so the dimensions will change, but you'll get under video captions. Nothing gets covered in the video itself, so that's a nice option here. So I can play this and you can see that.
Another question by a couple of our customers here. What would you do to shrink text that was put on the canvas? So I'm thinking that they're talking about if they have a call out and they've added some text, maybe they're calling attention to something with some text. How would you shrink that?
Shrink the text down?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's go just right here in our video, and I'm going to turn my captions off so I don't have to see those. I'm going to go to the Callout tab, and I'm just going to add a text callout here, and I'll type something, some text here, and oops, let me back up so you can kind of see that here. It's really small. So anytime you're adding text,
under the gray there.
Yeah, let me move it over here. There we go. You can see it a
easier.
little better. So whenever you have text added, you select it either on your timeline or in the canvas itself. If it's not selected, I can click right on it. If I double click on it, automatically will select the text. This is true for callouts that have text built into them as well. Okay. Just double click on it and it'll automatically highlight the text. And right here we have some controls to increase the size. So I can go to my font size, take that up to 72, really big, and then I can resize that. That call out, so that's where you would adjust it. I could type a number in here, call it 150 and make it gigantic, enter, and now that's there.
Or
and again,
you can always zoom in as well using those animations if you wanted to.
Right, but remember if you start with smaller text and you zoom in, it's going to look a little blurry. It's going to look a little blurry. Yeah. Exactly. So if you want to start larger, if you can, if you know that's going to work and what size you need, then that's how you can adjust it. You can also add some shadow to it. And you can change the color of that really easily as well. So you got a lot of options there.
Okay, we're running short on time, but I want to get to a few more questions before we end here today. If you do have any other questions that we haven't been able to address during this webinar, we've got a lot of different places that we're going to show you here in just a bit, how to give us feedback and where to go to ask additional questions. So we're not trying to abandon you here. We've got a lot of resources after this webinar. But a couple of quick ones, Shane. What about if you wanted to record something like Skype or a Google Group or something, how would you do that? What's the feature that they need to enable in order to do that?
The main thing is you want to record system audio so that you do get the audio coming through Skype or through Google Groups or whatever, so you're capturing that. So in the recorder, record the screen, you've got these options here. You've got audio inputs, and so you want to click on that drop down and make sure record system audio is checked. And so when I look in here, record system audio is checked, and then you want to also make sure, no matter what you're recording, always double check before, like make this a habit to always go in and just double check that the correct audio microphone is set up. The one that you want to use is the one that's being recorded in this drop down, because sometimes you unplug, replug things into your computer, move it around, undock it, bring it back, and those things can get messed up a little bit on which microphone is being recorded. So just do a test or make sure, that's the one being recorded, because I've made that mistake, had a nice headset microphone plugged in, sounds great, and I recorded the crappy built-in one, which really sounds terrible. So just double check that. Even
before we do this webinar, we do multiple checks, always check that audio. But that system audio check, that's what your computer speakers are playing back. Exactly. That's what you're recording, and that's the really good high quality version. And by the way, if you're using Windows XP, I'm sorry, we can't capture it on Windows XP. It's an older operating system. Gotta get up to date, and you can do it really easily on Windows 7, Windows 8.
Correct.
So.
Yeah.
Where are the title clips in CS8?
Oh, sure. So I kind of showed the library, and one thing I want to mention about the library as well that I forgot to mention is there is a Get More Media link right built into the library. So if you click on that, you'll get sent to our library page where you can download more themes. And we're releasing new themes every month through our newsletter, so I encourage you to sign up for that so you can get these new ones. So we just released 3 more this past month, and we'll be releasing more each month. We also have additional music tracks that you can get. So we include 10 great new music tracks, but you can go to our music track page and get additional ones. We'll be releasing new ones of those as well. Again, that's free. Download them, put them into Camtasia Studio. They're royalty free. You can use them with any of your video content. But let me go back to title clips. So you've got, within the library, you've got title clips built in within the themes that you could use, either basic titles like just the background with the title, or those animated titles that have the actual background animation with them. And then, so those are, you can use any of those. You can also, we have a folder that's included called Title Clips Simple that are like the old ones that were in Camtasia Studio. So with different colors, I can just double click on those or drag those down and add those to my timeline. And those are more like the simple ones that we had in the past, just color and text. And again, just double click on it to change the text.
Or you can even build your own. I mean,
exactly.
I built some custom ones, and when you drag that stuff into the library, you can use it again and again, even a whole group of media, use it again and have it fade in. And so once you've got something that you really like, we encourage you to drag that into the library, and then you've got a really nice professional looking fade in with text that you can apply to all your videos quickly.
Right.
So.
Let me show you one quick thing that I forgot to mention before that I wanted to is one of the things that we've enhanced, we continue to enhance at 8. So we're on Camtasia Studio version 8.03 now. So we keep getting great feedback from our customers, and we're listening to that and trying to enhance the usability and experience with Camtasia Studio 8. So one thing you can do, a lot of times you might have started to edit your content. I've got this sophisticated timeline, multiple tracks on it now, and man, I didn't add I want to add an intro video to the beginning, my branded intro video that I've got. So what you can do now is remember the shift key. When you're interacting with the timeline, it gives you a lot of functionality, but if I click right on the playhead here, I'm at the beginning of my project, and I hold down the shift key and I click and drag, notice it's making space and creating space for all my tracks. So every media on all tracks, it just opened up and made some space there. And now I can click and drag my intro video right down in that space. And again, hold down shift and I can drag all my media right back, and boom, I've just inserted media into that without losing sync or messing up all those edits that I already had done. The shift key is really an effective and fast way and thing to remember when you're interacting with the timeline. So to help make space on the timeline to insert new clips and things like that.
Another great pro tip. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And if you ever make a mistake, Control Z. That's one of my favorite hotkeys. That's the undo sometimes. Exactly. I did that 5 actions ago. I don't want that.
Right.
All right, so we've got to a lot of questions. I know we didn't get to all of them, everybody, and we're sorry about that, but please, you can follow up with us. If you wouldn't mind showing them a couple places where they could give, well, 1, support, and then 2, where they can give you feedback on what they'd like to see in upcoming versions.
Absolutely. So if you come to the TechSmith.com website, you can click on Support tab up at that link, and you can get to tutorials. You can submit tech support questions if you have those, and you can find your key if you've lost that. And then we also have Community, and here is where you can give questions and feedback. So if you click on that link, that'll take you to our feedback site, and this is where you can give us feature requests, you can ask questions. This is, we have other users are also in here to help and kind of answer questions for other users as well from their experience and what they're doing. You can request features, share ideas, all that kind of thing right there on that site as well. So it's a great place to give feedback.
Feedback.techsmith.com.
Correct.
Right there.
Yep, and then...
I just want to encourage everybody to check out our free tutorials. We're the company that makes software that allows you to show people how to do things, how to make tutorials. So obviously we've got a lot of great video tutorials out there showing you how a lot of the things that Shane was doing. Those are always available. Those are free. Just go out on our website and check those out. And then finally,
Can I show one more thing real quick? This is a video from a teacher. It's fantastic. These two teachers did it together. I just wanted to show some of the interactivity and how they created that same kind of thing that we walked through when we're showing with the NASA video.
Okay.
But again, this is an asset that we provide from our library, this nice, cool background. Then they shot some video footage. And what's cool about this is if I go full size here, I can click and get to this table of contents, and they've created this nice table of contents that is navigable. And my resolution is a little bit small here, but they've created these, and again, I can click on chromosomes and go right to the chromosomes section of the video content. Click back. So I just wanted to show another cool way, some of the things that our customers are actually doing with this interactive content to make it more engaging for the viewers.
And for more examples of that, we encourage you to visit our blog. We're constantly trying to show you great customer examples. I mean, we learn a lot more from you, I think, than you can learn from us, and what you can do with some of this functionality. So with that, I want to thank you, Shane, for showing up today and showing us Camtasia Studio. And I want to thank all you for tuning in. I want to remind you, if you haven't already viewed it, we've got a show called The Forge. The next Forge episode is December 13th at 2 p.m. The way you can get to it is on this blog that you're watching this video on right now. On the far right, there's a link that says The Forge. So if you just click on The Forge, we've got previous episodes on there. They'll be talking about new episodes, as well as on our YouTube page. So all of those videos are hosted on our YouTube page. I think it's TSC TechSmith or Team TechSmith on the YouTube page that you can go and view not only this video when we publish it, which you'll get a link to, but all other videos that we've done in the past. So it's Channel TechSmith is the name on YouTube in order to see all those previous videos. So thank you very much for tuning in today. Once again, this video will be available later. We'll send you a link to it. So if you did have a little bit of choppy feed there for a little bit, we apologize for that, and we'll get that out to you. I just want to thank everybody here at TechSmith that helped us out today. We've got our videographers, we've got Kelly Rush, Josh, and Ashley, as well as all the people in the other room that were answering questions. That includes Kate Cansfield, Sarah Welsh, Dave O'Rourke, Jesse LaHaye, Erica Smith, and Mike Curtis. So thank you very much, everybody. If you like to see more webinars in the future, if you've got additional questions, we've got webinars@techsmith.com. Send us an email message, and we'd love to do this again for you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.